Welcome to another video from explainingcomputers.com. This time I'm going to discuss my plans to build a Cyberdeck. In William Gibson's 1984 novel Neuromancer, here it is, hello, in this book, a Cyberdeck was a device with a brain interface that hackers used to access cyberspace. But today, in the real world, a Cyberdeck is a custom-built portable computer with a cyberpunk aesthetic. And Cyberdecks are often built using a single board computer, and so it's hardly a surprise that I've been thinking of building one for some time. Building a Cyberdeck is the process of making your own portable computer in exactly the same way that building, for example, a tower PC is the process of making your own desktop computer. And one of the most fundamental differences is that when you build, for example, a tower PC, you can do so entirely using off-the-shelf standardized components. But you can't do that when building a portable device. And there are projects like the Framework laptop that do allow you to DIY build a laptop, but most of the time when you build a Cyberdeck, when you build a portable device, it's going to be a custom scratch build. And there are all kinds of possibilities. You could build a very small Cyberdeck to go in your pocket, you could build a very large thing with a large screen, a large keyboard, all sorts of things to consider. And I've got really two interests in building a Cyberdeck. One is I'm just interested in the challenge of building a portable computing device to a high level of quality, something you'd want to use, something that looks good, it's cool like that. But I'm also interested in having a usable portable computing device, because over the past few years, due to various changes and circumstances in my life, I do a lot more computing on portable devices, and I'd like to have a different device to use. And so I want to avoid falling into the trap of building a Cyberdeck and going, wow, that's really cool, but I wouldn't actually want to use it. And I often see pictures of Cyberdecks and go, that's amazing what they've built. Technically, it's fantastic. It looks great. But would I really choose that over, for example, a normal laptop? And if the answer is I wouldn't choose it over a laptop or a tablet a reasonable proportion of the time, then I don't think that's going to be a successful build in my particular scenario. And so what I thought I would do is to try and get inspiration from some of the portable computing devices I've used and enjoyed using over the years. And one of these is my current laptop. This is my Asus ZenBook. This is 7 years old now. It's on its last legs. It's been on its last legs for quite a while. And there's no way I can build something just like a standard laptop to maintain the form factor and the thinness and things like that. It would be foolish to try. If I wanted a device like that, you're better to go and buy a standard laptop. And similarly, there's no point trying to build a tablet, because again, you're going to get something off the shelf much better than you can build yourself. And so what I've got here, I just put that down there, is 3 portable computers I've used in the past that I've really enjoyed using. And I'm trying to think, what is it I liked about using these devices? So let's first of all put those over there and move this along. This is a Toshiba 5100 from, I think, 1987, although it came into my possession as the third user in, I think it was 1992, 93, something like that. This is a very heavy computer. It is a luggable device. It doesn't have its own battery inside. If I just move it like that, there's a handle here which clips down like that. And then if we do this like that and where's it open like that? Oh, hey, there it is. Look, it's got, I think it's about a 9-inch screen, as I recall. This has got a 386 processor, 16 megahertz, 2 megabytes of memory, 40 megabyte hard drive, 1.44 megabyte floppy disk. And it's a beautiful device. I remember I wrote 2 books on this computer. So it's a computer I use, for a really important purpose. Got a beautiful keyboard. Let's give you a closer shot of the keyboard. It's a really, really nice keyboard on this device. I wouldn't mind having a Cyberdeck with a keyboard a bit like this. That's a possibility. I don't think necessarily this is a good keyboard in terms of RSI. I thought, I'm sure it isn't. It's probably a terrible keyboard in terms of RSI and arthritis, things like that, which have plagued me a lot. But I wouldn't mind a device that had this sort of feel. Maybe I can get really soft touch mechanical keyboard to go in the Cyberdeck. And you're going to want me to boot it up. I know you will. I've actually made a video about this in the past on my channel, but I have got here a power cable, which I'll just plug in around the back like that. I haven't tried this since I pulled it out from the shelves over there a few minutes ago, and it won't boot because I know the hard drive is gone. It's making a noise, which you can probably hear right next to my microphone. Is it going to go ping, ping, ping? Give us something on the screen. Yes, it is. It's not happy. or it's looking for a system disk, which it doesn't have. And as I said, I have made a video all about the Toshiba 5100 on the channel in the past, so I'll link to that in the video description. And I think we'll now move on to another portable computer that I really enjoyed using in the past. And it's this one, the Atari Portfolio, hailing from 1989 and made famous by its appearance in the movie Terminator 2. And if we open it up, we can see great little early portable computing device. I remember using this a lot in libraries. This was the first portable computing device I ever owned. I used to take this to the library in the university, make notes on it, and then take them back to my office and work on those notes. Because in those days, you couldn't just get copies of things easily. It's amazing how things have changed, isn't it? This was a really useful portable computing device. Got a very nice keyboard, and it runs, around the back here there's a battery compartment, and this runs on 3 standard AA batteries, which give me about 6 weeks of working time back in those days. And very sadly, I made a video about this on the channel about 10 years ago. Well, that wasn't sad, but what was sad is at the end of making that video, I left in by accident the 3 AA batteries. And when I got this out to make this video and thought we'd put this in this video, I discovered the batteries had gone bad. They do it for 10 years, don't they? Even good batteries. So sadly, this no longer boots. Maybe I will make a video in the future about trying to get this working again. I have spent about an hour trying to clean things up, get it working. This thing is not going to come to life for us today. But it's a portable computer that I very much remember being really pleased to use. Very robust. Love the power arrangements. I love the keyboard. These are features I hope to capture in my Cyberdeck. So let's move on to the third retro portable computer from which I'm seeking Cyberdeck inspiration, which is this, the Psion 7, the favourite portable computer I've ever owned and used. And it's so unusual, not least because it's not just a rugged device, it's got leather on the case. I've never seen another computer like that. It's just so different. Literally, in terms of the look and feel is very different. And as you can hopefully see, it does still work. I charged it up last night and it still works. There's a stylus over here. It means we can probably bring things up if I can just do things upside down. Yes, it's gone into a word processor for us. We've also got down here, for example, there's a calculator, I imagine, like that. Yes, this is a functional device. I really enjoyed using the Psion 7, not least because it has got, let's put that back in there, it has got a fantastic keyboard. This keyboard is really, really nice to type on. Not full size, but it's big enough to work really well. I'd love to have something like that on a Cyberdeck, but I don't know where I'm going to get one from. But anyway, I'll come back to keyboards and the issue of keyboards and Cyberdecks in the next part of the video. But this is a great piece of inspiration. I'd love to get the feel of this, the feel of the Psion 7 in a Cyberdeck device. And so let's now move on to talk about the practicalities of Cyberdeck hardware. Like many people, I hope to build my Cyberdeck using at least some hardware I already own. And so here we can see various items that may be involved. Usually the heart of a Cyberdeck is an SBC, and this can be an ARM board such as a Raspberry Pi, although I'm also considering the Rock 4D that I recently reviewed. I'm impressed with the Rock 4D, or maybe a Rock 5B or Orange Pi 5. This said, I may well opt for an x86 based Cyberdeck, quite possibly using this Radza X2L, which has got a quad-core J4125 Celeron processor. In addition to the SBC, we're going to need a keyboard, which for a small Cyberdeck could be something like one of these RAI units I've used in the past in various projects for controlling robots, things like that. Although for word processing, I think I need something a bit bigger than these. I can't imagine word processing on one of these keyboards, and I've therefore been checking out loads of smaller and medium-sized keyboards, and I still can't find exactly what I'm looking for, or indeed anything remotely like the keyboard on the Psion 7 we were just looking at. So, if I do build a small or even medium-sized Cyberdeck, getting a decent keyboard remains a significant challenge. If the Cyberdeck is going to be self-powered, it will need a battery of some kind, which could be a USB power bank like this one, although if I opt for an x86 based SBC, I'm either going to need a 12-volt power bank or a 5-volt model with a step-up converter. Or I may decide to build a Cyberdeck that only runs on external power. In addition to the SBC keyboard and power source, we may also need a pointing device of some kind if one isn't integrated into the keyboard. And of course, we're going to need a screen which may itself provide a touch interface. And fortunately, unlike with keyboards, lots of different LCD screens are available. To help give me a feel, over here I've got another possible choice of SBC. This is a Latte Panda Delta, which has got an Intel Celeron N4100 CPU. And as we can see, I've got it hooked up to a 7-inch screen. This is actually a touch screen I reviewed on my channel many years ago, and I'm using this to help me get a feel of what it would be like to work on a screen of this size. The resolution of this particular 7-inch screen is 1024 by 600, on which this rather old installer Windows 10 is running perfectly well. And I've got a mouse connected here as well as the ability to use the touchscreen because I'm working here upside down in the video, but things are working as you can see. I can just, for example, launch a browser, comes up, no issues. Can we go to YouTube? Hopefully we can. If you can't go to YouTube on the system, it's not worth having, is it? That's going to come up okay. We can go across hopefully to videos like that. Obviously the screen resolution is a bit constrained for the desktop YouTube interface, but that's perfectly functional. That's working pretty well. And if I took a small keyboard like the Rai we were looking at earlier and brought it in here, something like that, can I get them all on screen together? Something like that. This is the basis of a small Cyberdeck, isn't it? I think the touchscreen here is working, so we could use either that as well as the touchscreen. Getting very confusing now. Can I press the Windows key here to bring up the menu? I can, yes, this is all actually working. And here we're running Windows, but of course we could run Linux too. Let's just try that and run Ubuntu. There we go. And once again, everything is working. Let's just bring the screen fully into view like that. You'll see touch is functional if I use the little thing there to bring up the file manager. That works perfectly well. I'll also now go back to my mouse because I find it difficult working upside down. Let's just bring up the browser. Again, YouTube is working on this system. I'm quite impressed using this screen running what I call normal operating systems rather than running on a screen this size something like Android. This said, I do worry that a Cyberdeck with a small screen like this and with a small keyboard would end up being an impressive novelty rather than a computer on which I'd choose to work for long periods. So, this leads us to consider my future Cyberdeck's case and form factor. And one option is to base it around a 12.3-inch touchscreen like this, which has got a resolution of 1920 by 720 and could be mounted above a full-size keyboard in a flat panel case, as I've quickly mocked up here. This is actually quite an old form factor that was used for some early mobile computers, such as the Cambridge Z88 from 1987. Although early portable computers with this form factor had non-touch monochrome displays. Another option would be to tweak this design into a fixed wedge. And I'm pretty certain I could build such a case in a similar manner to the one I made for my Pi 500 Maker build long before the launch of the real Pi 500 and Pi 500 Plus. As I recall, some of the computers on Star Trek The Next Generation had this fixed wedge form factor, if with a 4:3 ratio display. And in the real world, some early terminals also had a screen and keyboard integrated at a fixed angle. This all said, many Cyberdecks are built not into an entirely custom case, but into a hard case, something like a Pella case or a clone of a Pella case, and this makes them very robust. And so what I've done is to empty out one of the Pella cases that normally contains a lot of my backup media. No backup media in here today. And this immediately gives me ideas, particularly if you do that. So we have the keyboard down here and the monitor in there. And in fact, it's very interesting. If I bring in the Scion 7, you'll see the keyboard area is very, very similar. And in fact, the screen area would also be very similar as well. And so this is an interesting case. I wouldn't probably use this exact case, but a case like this could be used to build a Cyberdeck. However, I still think I want to go bigger, and so what I'm going to do is to search out a reasonably priced rugged case that could take a display at least 12 inches in size. And the chances are such a case would also be able to take a full-size keyboard, maybe like the one on the Toshiba 5100 we saw earlier. And if possible, it would also be good for the case to be big enough to include storage compartments for the power adapter, a mouse, maybe a pen, other useful things, post-it notes, things like that. Because I like the idea of a Cyberdeck which you can open up and it contains not just a computer, but everything you may need to comfortably use it. As you can probably tell, I'm still struggling to decide exactly what kind of Cyberdeck I'm going to build. And indeed, I've made this video to try and progress my thinking, to force me to refine my ideas, get things out, try things out, do some tests, do some drawings, things like that. And it has worked. I think this video has definitely progressed my forthcoming Cyberdeck build. And probably, as you probably gathered, it is going to be a Cyberdeck with quite a large screen, a full-size keyboard, something I can use sitting on my lap in an easy chair in the evenings, something I can use sitting up in bed late at night or sitting up in bed early in the mornings. I know I shouldn't use a computer like that, I shouldn't use a computer in bed, but I do, so let's accept reality. And a Cyberdeck like that doesn't necessarily need its own battery. This said, and there's always a but, isn't there? This said, I'm still taken with this, getting out this case and going from there to there and going keyboard and screen. That would be a nice unit. Although I don't want to end up, as I've said already in this video, building something where I go, that looks really cool, that's a fantastic portable computing device, but I wouldn't choose to use it. I want to end up with something which is really functional. That's probably what I'll go for the larger screen. But we will see fairly soon on the channel. There'll be a build video and you can see what the final Cyberdeck is like. And if I've missed things, do let me know about your ideas for my build down in the comments section, and also let us know what would your ultimate portable computer, your ultimate Cyberdeck be like. But now that's it for another video. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, please press that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.